It's Joe again, and I wanted to do a really quick video right now. I wanted to show you something that I've never exactly seen before, that is a practice that I have been working on for a few years now, and I finally think I'm beginning to understand how it works. And I'm going to call this practice clover bedding, or some would say using clover as a perennial green mulch or green manure. The gist of it's pretty simple. You can see right here, I'm inside my small high tunnel, and I have 4 established beds, 2 on this side of the tunnel, 2 on this side of the tunnel. And by established, all I mean is that the dirt is just slightly higher here in the beds, and the walkways are around a foot, and the walkways are typically, filled with wood chips. I overseeded this entire high tunnel with white Dutch clover, and you can see it's everywhere, right? It's completely, the whole high tunnel is just completely full of clover, and has been for 2 years now. The purpose of this is that when I showed up here just a couple years ago, there was nothing here. This was just bare soil, and I wanted to kickstart some kind of a ecosystem for growing perennial and annual food crops for myself. Being brand new earth that had not been cultivated, at least not any time in recent human memory, I wanted to bring the soil in this high tunnel up to some kind of fertility that could begin providing me as quickly as possible some type of annual or perennial food. I am very particular about what comes into my land, and I simply refuse to use purchased composts, free manures, or basically any type of organic material that's not wood chips, basically. The reason for that is many fold, but I can summarize by saying I don't trust the material. If you've been doing some research, or if you've heard of things such as PFAS chemicals or forever chemicals, or there's a new jumping worm that is an invasive type of worm that is starting to upset some ecosystems in, I guess, probably the whole country, but in particular the Northeast, along with a myriad of other things, such as contaminants, for example, plastic waste inside of municipal compost. There's a million reasons why I refuse to use any of that material at all. The only thing I'll use is wood chips, organic material that comes from the land, or bio-char, which comes from organic material on the land. That's all I'll ever use. Being so restrictive, you have to really work to build some kind of baseline level of fertility or nutriment for the plant you're trying to grow, because not everything is going to want to grow in really poor, degraded, or unimproved soils. And in fact, the soil test for the land inside of this high tunnel was absolutely atrocious. In fact, if I can find the scan of the soil test, I'll put it right here in the video so that you can see. It was really bad. So a practice that I've been working on is a practice I've been working on trying to perfect, which will never be perfected, but I can continue learning year after year until I no longer am alive to do this anymore. So one practice that has been working very well for me, not perfectly, but very well, has been clover bedding. And I don't think you're restricted to only using clover. However, I feel that clover is particularly well suited for this task. If you look right there, I'll get a little close to it, you can see I've just planted some onions about a week ago. These are onions from little bulbs right here. This is some stock that I found that I did not plant. And amazingly, a handful of the bulbs are still alive that never got planted in the spring. So here I am in this high tunnel, and I've got quite a bit of space in here that's not really being well utilized, because I just haven't had time to plant this out. But this is what I'm talking about here with using clover as you know, a perennial cover crop. Clover goes through an interesting life cycle where you can see that there's all this fresh new green growth. About 2 weeks ago, which it would have been a much better time to make this video, because 2 weeks ago this clover was almost completely died back. You can actually see right here some of this material. What had happens is the clover goes through some type of a life cycle, and I have not figured out the exact phases of the life cycle. However, it goes through an explosive growth phase, a dieback phase, a growth phase, a dieback phase. It looks like nearly 2 times a year. This video would have been ideal to do about 2 weeks ago, and it just so happens that late summer clover dieback would coincide almost perfectly with the fall plantings that you would typically want to do going into winter so you can have some winter crop. So I'll show you something really interesting here. The clover is actually only really established on the edges of these beds. Now that's not 100% accurate. There'll definitely be some spots in here where the clover is growing right through the middle, but regardless, the edge of the walkway is where the majority of the clover is growing because there were annual plants in here some time ago. If you look close, I'll get real close, I want you to see what's going to happen. If you pull this back, oh my God, that's way easier than I thought. And you can pull this back and you can see some of the clover plants. First off, look how easily that pulled. And underneath here is this incredible bed of organic material. And you can come through and you can just pull a handful of the little roots. This is one thing that kind of really surprises me here, and this is a first for me on any of my lands, on any of the gardens and homesteads I've done. I've never been able to take my hand and stick it this deep into the ground. This is absolutely incredible. And you can actually look, if you look closely here, sorry little worms, if you look closely here, right around there is where the original subsoil was that the loose material was placed on top of when I put these beds down. And I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this. It's hard to do one-handed. However, what you do is you can just pull the clover back. I got a hose right here, but you can just pull the clover back and you got to rip on it pretty hard, and you roll the clover back into the walkways. And if you feel like it, you can pull some of the clover roots out that are inside the middle of the bed. Just kind of tuck them over. If you notice here, so look, here's a spot that's completely untouched. I threw some bio-char on top. And if you look, it looks like the top clover is not attached, because once you scrape this away, look, I'm just making a hole. And if you look inside here, there's that incredibly friable soil. I'm so incredibly proud of this. And you can do this anywhere you want. You can come over here, about 7 feet away. It looks like it's not attached, and you just pull on it, and you can just pull away the clover that went over it. There's a little more density of roots here. However, same deal. I can just reach my hand in and grab the soil. It's incredible. So what you do is you just come through here, and I just do it by hand. And you just pull the clover away and just kind of tear at it. And here we go. Look, we're splaying this open now. And you can do this much cleaner than me. I'm just showing you what this is like. I'm just going to plant onions right here, just like this, right into this. I just can't believe how soft this is. This looks really good. And this has received, like I said, 0 added nutriment besides light dusting of wood chips, just to hold seeds in place during watering, and the clover growing over the beds and completely covering them up. And you can see here that I rolled, 7, 8, 9 days ago, when I just rolled this clover back, just like I'm doing right here. When I roll the clover back, I put it right in the walkway where if you look, it's already beginning to decompose. Boy, there's a lot of worms in there. That's encouraging. It's already beginning to decompose. And I'm just going to come through later, and I'm just going to put more wood chips right on top of this. And it all just continues to build this bank of organic material breaking down, feeding an ecosystem. Every year or so, I'll come through and I will shovel the walkway. I'll shovel the walkways and I'll lay the walkway material on top of the bed when the walkway material is starting to get very well decomposed. And that's it. And here I am, really slowly beginning to build up what I believe to be a largely closed loop web of food production and soil generation. And there's going to be a lot to work out, and I'm going to continue learning and evolving the process. However, I just couldn't be tickled more to see how well this is going. And like, this may appear to be high labor, but this is not bad compared to many other things I've done. Moving this clover out of the way in such soft, easy to work soil it's great. And the reason why I choose clover is, if you look close here, these white nodules are the nitrogen fixing bacteria that give clover its ability to actually add nitrogen back to your soil. So there we go, clover bedding. And I'm going to find something to plant in all this empty space here in all these beds, and it's going to be the same process. Everywhere I go, I'm going to pick a spot, I'm going to pull the clover out of the way, and underneath it, if you look down in there, is just this amazing rich soil. And God, so many worms. The worms really enjoy this overstory of this living and decaying organic material. Here's something I love so much. The Myoga ginger that I got from Sean at Edible Acres. It's joyous to walk around your spaces and see ginger growing in zone 5. I love it.